हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Just start in a minute. Just start.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Naruttamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Tadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Arjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Chathamritam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabhanu Shruti Devi Pranamami Haripike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhe Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Just give me a few seconds. Just be back. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale. Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane. Darvishesha Shunyavadi Paschats. Mukam Gurudevachalam Panghum Langete Girim Yatata Mahamande Shri Gurum Dintaranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwar. Hare Krishna. So welcome back to the discussion of the Srimad Bhagavat, 5th Canto. Today we'll be discussing the second chapter of the 5th Canto. This is a relatively small chapter, around 23 verses. Chapter is entitled The Activities of Maharaj Agnidhra. So it's a pretty straightforward chapter, not a lot of philosophical discussion. Of course, Prabhupada in his commentaries use various insights into the topic. So before we get into the chapter proper, I thought we missed last time the first class of the 5th Canto to give a kind of overview of what is involved in the 5th Canto. And I realized that, we should have done that, but we did not. So I'm going to take a 5-10 minutes and do that today, because I think we have a little more time today as compared to what we had the last time. So the entire Bhagavatam is compared to a beautiful deity of Lord Krishna. Right from the lotus feet up to the head. The two lotus feet are compared to the first two cantos. The third and the fourth canto are compared to the thighs of the Supreme Lord. And the fifth canto can be compared to the lotus navel, the Nabhi of the Supreme Lord. And the description goes on. The face represents the 10th canto, and the 11th and 12th is the upper part of the head. So in this way, the meditation on the Lord's transcendental form is supposed to gradually progress as one progresses in one's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We have also discussed earlier how the Srimad Bhagavatam is comprised of 10 topics. And while these topics are discussed more or less all over the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are certain cantos where certain topics are more focused. So these are topics like the primary and secondary creation, and Sthanam, Poshanam, Ishanukatha, so on and so forth. There's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto itself, which gives that description. Atha, Sarga, Visarga, so on. Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Ishanukatha. Then Manvantaras, then the topics of Mukti, Nirodha, Ashraya. So various topics like that, adding up to 10, are described across the Bhagavatam. We just completed the third and the fourth cantos. The third and the fourth cantos actually focus on Sarga and Visarga, which means the primary and the secondary creation. How this whole creation has been manifested, what are the elements, what are the compositions, how the evolution of the universe happened. Not the Darwinian kind of evolution, but how the evolution happened in terms of the Lord manifesting first the primordial building blocks of material existence, and gradually they coming together to form more and more complex life. So modern atheistic science thinks everything happened by chance. The scriptures say that the Lord is both the source, the material cause, as well as the efficient cause. Which means he provides the ingredients also, but the ingredients also by themselves cannot automatically mix. They also require the Lord's energy, the Lord's intelligence to combine in a particular way to produce the manifestation the way it has manifested. It is not possible through chance. Unlike what some proponents of a materialistic evolution theory may want us to believe. Anyway, that's a different topic. But essentially, the purpose of the Sarga and Visarga is to focus around there. Sarga is the process of primary creation. The secondary creation is the population of the various planetary systems, 7 up, 7 down, total 14. And the third and the fourth canto focus on that in the form of the conversation between Maitreya and the first two cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam are more or less like an introduction. They cover quite a few of the topics across all the 10 topics, but they give the foundational understanding, and they give a good overview as well as an introduction. So third and fourth cantos focus very specifically on Sarga and Visarga. The fifth canto also continues a little bit into the topic of Visarga. So when we speak about Visarga, like what I just mentioned, Visarga or the secondary creation is how the universe was populated, how the various species were created and how they populated the various planetary systems which were created by Brahma after the primary creation was done by the Supreme. So as part of Visarga, we have already discussed in the fourth canto about the descendants of Uttanapad. And in the fifth canto, like what I mentioned in the last class, the same topic of Visarga is continued in the form of descendants of the second son, actually the first son, who's described second, who's Priyavrat Maharaj. So the fifth canto, the first 15-16 chapters are actually focused on the Visarga topic. First 15 on the Visarga topic. So various descendants of Priyavrat Maharaj have been described. Pretty much something similar like how Uttanapad's descendants, leading to Dhruva and so on and so forth, all the way up to the Prachetas, Prachinabhati, Prachetas, all of them have been described. So many interesting pastimes. Similarly, the descendants of Priyavrat Maharaj has been described. So what are the various great personalities who have been described in the first 15 chapters of the fifth canto? First, Maharaj Priyavrat is described in the first chapter. We have already discussed the pastimes of Maharaj Priyavrat. Today, we'll be discussing the son of Maharaj Priyavrat. His name was Agnidhra. Then his son is subsequently discussed in the following chapter, which is the third, whose name is King Nabhi. Amongst the descendants of Nabhi, the great Lord Rishabhadev, who is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, his pastimes are discussed. Very, very special pastime of Lord Rishabh and his teachings to his 100 sons, out of which the most extraordinary son was the topmost devotee and who became a very great king is King Bharat, on whose name our country, or rather the whole planet, is known as Bharat. And then this very beautiful pastime of Bharat Maharaj's 3 lives is covered here. As King Bharat, how he became a deer, how he became Jad Bharat, and he achieved perfection. And in the last incarnation, how he instructed King Rahugana, the form of Jad Bharat. So all those conversations are there. So this is covered in the first 15 chapters. In the rest of the chapters of the fifth canto, and that is where the fifth canto is most famous for, is the topic of Sthanam. Atha Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam. So one is creation, primary creation. After primary creation, there is secondary creation of the planetary systems, and then there is Sthana. Sthana means what is the actual geographical structure of the universe and who stays where. Sthanam is like address. Aapka sthan kahan hai? If I ask this question to Praveen Prabhu, he'll say, my sthanam is Pines Condominium. So if I ask him more question about Pines Condominium, he'll say, oh, this building has so many stories. On this floor, Sarvalakshmi Mataji stays. On this floor, I stay. On this floor, this Nagi Prabhu stays. So there is a sthanam description. So like that, a sthanam description of the universe is given, both in terms of the construct as well as in terms of the personality. The focus is on the on the geography and the construct, along with the personalities. The focus is not on the stories in the sthanam part. Whereas in the Visarga part, how the descendants expanded and how they occupied various systems is what is focused. So chapter 16 onwards, the focus of the 5th canto is around that, and there are a total of 26 chapters. So the 16th chapter is entitled A Description of Jambudvip. And it goes on from there to the various other chapters, and it concludes with the most popular topic of all, in chapter 26, the description of the hellish planets. I don't know why generally people find this topic the most exciting, but anyway, this is the most spoken about topic. Perhaps because for most people who take up to spiritual life, the main incentive is fear rather than love for the Supreme Lord. This is true. To find love as the primary motivation is very difficult. It's not easy. It is rare. Fear, desire, duty, and love. These are the 4 kinds of motivation in the ascending order. Fear, desire. Desire means I want. For example, if someone you ask, why do you read Srimad Bhagavatam? Oh, because it is written the Bhagavatam. If I read this chapter every day, then I will be healthy, and I will go. I will achieve all good fortune. And then there is duty. Duty means one understands that I have a human form of life, and I'm supposed to do this. So I do it, whether I like it or I don't like it. And love is the ultimate desirable motivation, which is that one is so attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead that one just loves hearing and reading about Him and His devotees. So in this way, the first 15 chapters are focused on the descendants of Priyavrat, and then onwards, which is a part of Visarga. And then 16 to 26 are focused on Sthanam. So Sthanam is going to be a very interesting discussion. So we still have a long time to come to Sthanam because we have 15 chapters in the middle. 15 chapters is at least 15 weeks, which is 4 months. At least. So by the time Rath Yatra comes, we may go into the Sthanam part. The Sthanam part is very interesting. The Sthanam part, we will see how we want to cover. So I want to give you a good overview of the universal structure. So oftentimes this section is taught not as a verse by verse, chapter by chapter, but rather by giving a very structured explanation based on these chapters of how the universe is structured. So let's see, I will try to see how it is the best way to present it. This is a very, very interesting topic. The structure of the universe is very interesting. So that's the outline of the 5th canto. So we will continue now with chapter 2 of the 5th canto, which is entitled The Activities of Maharaj Agnidhra. If you remember, when we concluded chapter 1 on the pastimes of Priyavrat Maharaj, we discussed how Priyavrat Maharaj made a very amazing sacrifice, even though he was so advanced, because he was instructed by Swayambhu Manu, assisted by Narad Muni and Brahmaji, to not take the path of renunciation, but to get married and do royal duties of a king. With great humility, he accepted. And eventually, when time came, he also got married. And eventually when time came, he renounced. It is also described how Maharaj Priyavrat, who was ruling the entire Bhumandal, divided the Bhumandal into 7 dvipas and gave each of the dvipas to each of his 7 sons. We discussed how he had a total of 10 sons. I'm not going to go through all the details again. But 3 of them took the renounced order, 7 of them were Kshatriyas, so he gave 7 of them 7. And the names of those dvipas are there: Jambu, Rauncha, Shalmali, so on and so forth. 7 dvipas. We'll be discussing these dvipas in great detail when we come into the Sthanam portion. So don't worry that it is being referred to very briefly. In great detail we'll discuss. Including what is there, who stays there, how the geography looks like, what rivers flow there. You'll remember your school day geography classes when we go through that section. So the central Dvipa is Jambu Dvipa in the Bhumandal. Actually, we will discuss this later, but just so that you understand, we are all, Earth is a part of Jambu Dvipa. So this Jambu Dvip, which was handed over to King Agnidhra to be ruled over. So the pastime of King Agnidhra is discussed. So the second chapter begins with the statement that Agnidhra accepted the instructions of his father, Maharaj Priyavrat, who retired, by taking over the kingdom of Jambudvip. And he was a very good king from an administrative perspective, because just like his father was an exemplary king who took care of his subjects, it is said Agnidhra Maharaj also took care of the subjects of Jambudvipa very much like a father would take care of his children. And this is a very important principle. The king, according to the Vedic scriptures, is seen as a representative of the Supreme Lord. And he's supposed to take care of the praja. Praja doesn't just mean human beings. Nowadays, praja refers to just human beings. That also, of course, the rulers are not bothered. They just cheat and plunder them. But the king, as the representative of the Supreme Lord, is supposed to take care of the material and spiritual welfare and the protection of all the residents. Of course, especially of the humans, because that is a very, very special life form, but otherwise of all living entities. So when Priyavrat Maharaj departed to achieve the perfection of life, Agnidhra Maharaj took over. And Agnidhra Maharaj he thought that, oh, now I have to rule, I have to become qualified. I want to have qualified children to also continue the descendants to rule the Jambudvip nicely. So as was the tradition, I must also do austerities. Very interesting. It's a very novel concept, which you'll find across the Bhagavatam. Anyone who wants to produce children, they first go through austerities. Rather than going on shadi.com and putting their profile. That's the last thing on their mind. Because they are depending on higher authorities to give them the perfect match. This is what you will see throughout. They don't go hunting and dating and, figuring out who will give the best sense enjoyment to them. So it's quite interesting. Quite amazing. So it was quite challenging for the kings in one sense, you can say, just getting married. I'm talking about these people, these personalities, because they are like Prajapatis. So Prabhupada gives so much importance to the institution of marriage in terms of the sacred responsibility to produce Krishna conscious children for the overall good and peace of society. So this was very much the practice. So of course Maharaj Agnidhra also wanted to have very qualified children, but he had one more desire in his mind. He wanted to perform austerities because he was also keen to have a child, so a qualified child who will also perform a lot of karma kanda, so that he can enter and live and have a happy life in Pitrilok. Somehow, Maharaj Agnidhra had this desire of attaining Pitrilok, the planet of the ancestors. So Pitrilok is a heavenly planet where the Pitris headed by Aryama stay. And pious people go there. Prabhupada says that to go there and remain there, one must have qualified sons who are descendants who are doing the tarpan and other rituals and offerings to the ancestors. So the ancestors can happily stay in Pitrilok. So the recharge coupon has to be paid on earth. To recharge your time in Pitrilok. It has to be done by the ancestors. So you have to produce qualified descendants who will do it properly. So that was one of the things which was going on in the mind of King Agnidhra, that I must have qualified descendants who will do it. Now this is a bit surprising that Agnidhra Maharaj is the son of such a great devotee like Maharaj Priyavrat, who's the son of Swayambhu Manu and from Brahma. And what kind of a desire is this into Pitrilok? He is the son of such a great Vaishnava. He should be thinking of how to go to at least Vaikunta, if not Goloka. So this is a natural question that may arise in our minds. So the Acharyas have given an interesting insight, even though the Bhagavatam itself doesn't mention this. They say that Maharaj Agnidhra had this contaminating desire because of the circumstances and the consciousness that Maharaj Priyavrat had at the time of his conception. Now, I do not know the details of that context, but what is mentioned is that when Agnidhra was conceived by Maharaj Priyavrat was agitated by lust. So rather than attracting a soul who is focused on the spiritual goal of life, he attracted a soul who, even though pious, was focused on material attainments. So very interesting. And that is the reason he had this kind of mentality. Typically, it's a bit surprising that he had this kind of a mentality. Anyway. So having this Pitruloka Kamaha, this desire to worship, to attain Pitrilok, he wanted to worship Brahma, and that is why Maharaj Agnidhra went to a very beautiful place in the Mandara mountains where he was worshipping Lord Brahma. So he was keen that Brahmaji will give him the blessing that he wanted, which with the ultimate objective of attaining the. Now this place, the Mandar hill where he was performing austerities, and he set up a very nice ashram there. It's actually considered very, very beautiful. Even though it's in Jambudweep on Bhumandal, it's considered an extraordinarily beautiful place. How beautiful? So beautiful that is said heavenly damsels come there. Just take a walk, to stroll around. So just like sometimes we, to stroll around, we go to a park. Right? So heavenly damsels would come into this region of Mandara Hill to just take a stroll. So Brahmaji understood, being a direct, empowered representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the Lord's arrangement, he understands what is in the heart of Agnidhra. So he could understand that Agnidhra is worshipping him with this goal in mind. Brahmaji thought that yes, I have to facilitate what he wants. So what Brahmaji did is that there was a, should not say was, because I think she is still around. I don't know where, perhaps in Pitrilok. A very beautiful Apsara by the name of Purva Chitti. So Brahmaji called her and told her that, Purva Chitti, I have an assignment for you. The assignment is Agnidhra seeking for a wife, and you are a very qualified as well as a very beautiful lady. So you please go down and approach her. So Purvachitti comes down to the Mandar hill and she starts walking around the area, around the hermitage where King Agnidhra was meditating and worshiping. So King Agnidhra was sitting in meditation, as the Bhagavatam, as the Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter of Dhyan Yoga describes, that the yogis, half closed eyes, they are meditating. So he was meditating with half closed, not fully closed, but half closed eyes. Why not fully closed? If you meditate with fully closed eyes, you will fall asleep. Prabhupada has explained this. So one almost closes them and stares at the tip of the nose, and that way engages in meditation. So she came down in this park area. That park is described. I'm not going to go through all the details. There's a lot of description of how romantic that location was. You can skip that if you're really interested. You can read. Of course, the Vedic idea of romantic doesn't match modern day romantic places necessarily. Vedic beauty is a lot of natural beauty, a lot of beautiful greenery, beautiful lakes, nice beautiful birds chirping around. A very divine, soothing environment. So anyway, it was such a very, very beautiful place, and Purva Chitti came and she was walking around that place. And it is said the ankle bells on her ankles were making tinkling sound. Chan, chan, chan. Agnidhra, who was half open eyes, first of all he heard the sound. Then through the half open eyes, he could make out a very beautiful form walking around the place. What happened? Immediately his half open eyes became more open. So his meditation immediately became distracted. And he sees this very, very beautiful, charming form. He has never seen such a charming form. Actually, he has been meditating there for quite some time, actually. He's been meditating there for quite some time. It's not mentioned how long. But he sees her and immediately his senses and his mind becomes captivated by the beauty. And he notices how graceful this personality is. The bodily movements, the shyness, the gentleness, humility, the soft words, and he was so attracted by these beautiful feminine features, even though the Bhagavatam says he was not immediately able to recognize her as a lady. This is quite interesting. It is said that because he was meditating and performing austerities for so long, he had for some time couldn't immediately distinguish a male form and a female form. So initially when he saw that, even though he was attracted, he was thinking that this is some Brahmana boy, some sage who has come there. And that is how he addresses her initially in the conversation. Now, this is very interesting to note that even though at an external level, he did not clearly discern her identity, but the thing is, because of the past impressions that a living entity has, the attraction between the male and the female very automatically came, very strongly in his consciousness. And he was not able to understand why am I feeling. And he started glorifying, started speaking to her, who he thought was him, and started describing the beauty. Now, there is a very detailed description of the beauty and so on and so forth, which, if you're really interested, you can read. But he starts by describing her eyebrows by saying that why you are carrying those deadly bows without bowstring. Who do you intend to kill with that bow? So basically he's saying that just by your glances are like piercing arrows and your eyebrows are like bows. And so on and so forth. He goes on describing her bodily form in various ways. And all his various descriptions are ultimately indicating that he's getting infatuated by her beauty. He says that there are bees which are surrounding your face. And why they are surrounding your face? Because the fragrance of your breath is so wonderful that the bees are thinking there is some honey and they are hovering around your face, around your eyes. Of course, this is only possible with heavenly damsels. If we keep our mouth open, the bees will run away. Must be because it is Purvachit. That is the nature, the body of humans in Bharatvarsha. Actually, Bharat Khanda, I must say, not even Bharatvarsha, because Bharatvarsha is, I don't know how many of you know, we will discuss this in the Sthanam part, but Bharatvarsha is much bigger than Earth planet. We are in Bharat Khanda. So there are parts of Bharat Khanda which are, Bharatvarsha which are beyond Earth. What are those parts? We will discuss all that. Who stays there, that also we will discuss. That is all the discussion of Sthanam. Anyway, coming back, the body on earth is actually quite obnoxious, isn't it? It gives foul odors, emits foul substances. In the heavenly planets, the bodies are much, much fragrant. The sweat is like perfume. And one doesn't discharge excreta the same way that gross bodies on the earth planet emit foul substances. All that is not there on the heavenly planets. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into how their food processing works, but they don't have to make their environment unclean the way we have to do. So he describes the bumblebees, how they are getting attracted. So various bodily features he starts describing. And he tells her, oh, please show me, where is your house? Where is your residential place? Because I'm so surprised from where you have come. Where people like you stay who are so beautiful. I have never seen such beautiful bodily features. So, which ashram you are coming from, please take me there. Who are you? Are you some illusory potency of Lord Vishnu, or who are you? I'm not able to figure out. So there are many comparisons and many descriptions, and he says ultimately that, your form is agitating my mind, and mind has actually become restless. So from where and how have you got this kind of an extraordinary beauty? I'm inviting you, please come and join me in my austerities. It will be nice to have your company. And I don't know, this chapter is not clearly indicated at what point he realizes that it's not a boy, it's a girl. It's not mentioned very explicitly. But at one point in his very poetic flattery that he is doing for Purvachitti, he says that, yes, come and join in my austerities. I think Lord Brahma must have sent you here. If Lord Brahma has sent you here, I think it is Lord Brahma's desire that you should become my wife. And I think that's a wonderful idea, because it will be so nice, both of us together will do austerities. See, sometimes the materialistic consciousness cheats one like that. A boy may be attracted to a girl totally for material reasons, but he may say, oh, let us both get married together so we can practice devotional service nicely. We'll both get married, we'll both get up for Mangalarti, we'll both do Japa together, both serve together. Anyway, the thought is good, but the actual motivation may not be like that, and that's why it doesn't happen most of the time. So anyway, he was trying to justify like that. You come then, we'll get married and then we can do all these spiritual activities together. This will be very wonderful. So I'm not going to leave you. You must be here with me because Brahma has sent you to me. And don't worry, I am not going to put any conditions on you. If you don't want to stay with me here, it's okay. Wherever you want me to go, I am willing to go with you. No conditions. No terms and conditions. I want you to be mine, and whatever you say, I will accept. So he actually becomes quite desperate. So Purvachitti, who was actually also very pure-hearted, great soul, even though she's an Apsara from the higher planets. Hearing the very flattering words of Maharaj Agnidhra. Maharaj Agnidhra was very good in the art of flattering a lady with very sweet words. Now it is said that a man is attracted by a woman's beauty, but a woman is attracted by a man's flattery. And this is something very interesting. Prabhupada also mentions this, and it is also said when even otherwise that sometimes, even though a man may not be very qualified or very attractive from material perspective, he is very good in flattering ladies with very good words, is able to attract them and control them, or make them attracted to him just by the power of their flattering language. Of course, Agnidhra Maharaj was also very good looking, very qualified in all other ways as well. Even though he was not a pure devotee, but at least he was qualified from a material perspective otherwise. A very respectable family, dharmic king, very good looking as well, and very good in the art of flattery. So actually Purvachitti, when she heard those flattering words, she also got attracted Maharaj Agnidhra. So she also kind of said, okay. And of course, Brahmaji had sent her. So, it was also Brahmaji's desire. So, she agreed to Maharaj Agnidhra's proposal, and they got married and they started staying together. It is said they had a wonderful, happy, romantic life for 100 million years. Now, this is a really long love story. 100 million years with Purvachitti. And not just any, Miss India, Miss Universe, but Purvachitti from the heavenly planets. Extremely beautiful. So the problem that happened because of this is Maharaj Agnidhra became so attached to her, so attached to her. So it is said that in due course, Purvachitti gave birth to 9 sons of Maharaj Agnidhra. And their names are mentioned as Nabhi, Kim Purusha, Harivarsha, Ilavarta, Ramyaka, Hiranmaya, Kuru, Bhadrashva, and Ketumal. These 9 sons. So when these 9 sons grew up and were pretty much independent, it is said that Purvachitti, being an Apsara, she said that my job is done. I have married you. Because Brahmaji sent me, I have given you children, like what you wanted. The children have grown up. I have already brought them up. They're already young men now. So my job is done. I don't belong here. I am from the heavenly planets. So I'm returning to Pitriloka, where I came from. This is what happens when you marry Apsara. Be forewarned. So she left. You can imagine what would happen to Maharaj Agnidhra. So attached to her, so attached to her. And you cannot get a Purvachitti replacement on earth, even though he's such a great king. So he was really, really longing and pining for her. Because it is said his materialistic desire of enjoying with her wasn't satisfied even after 100 million years of spending time with her. An amazing statement. Those who think that materialistic desire or materialistic lust will go away simply through enjoyment, this is a very important lesson for all of us that the Bhagavatam gives. Do not think that just if you go on enjoying, one day will come automatically you will lose taste for material enjoyment. No. Detachment from material things comes by the association of devotees, by the favor of the Lord and the devotees. It doesn't come automatically by becoming old, automatically after having enjoyed. No. If one puts fuel into the fire, it doesn't douse the fire, rather it makes the fire burn even more wildly. And this is not seen not just in this pastime, there are so many pastimes which actually illustrate this. Similar episode happens the later part of the Bhagavatam with Maharaj Pururava also, Pururava and Urvashi, and so many other episodes across the scriptures, where the man has become so attached to the lady that his mind is just totally bewildered. Even after enjoying for a long, long time, they're not satisfied. They're hankering. So even after Purvachitti leaves, Maharaj Agnidhra couldn't focus on anything. His whole mind was always thinking, Purvachitti, when I will meet her again, when I will meet her again, how will I meet her again? So it is said, he died pining for her. And because he was pious and he performed also various karma kand activities, after his death, he was promoted to the same planet where she was, which is Pitrilok. Yanti Devavrata Devan Pitran Yanti Pitravrataha Yanti Bhutan Bhutejo Madbhakta Yanti Mama. Krishna says, whatever your mind is focused on and you are worshipping your consciousness. Worshipping doesn't just mean worship by doing arti. Worshipping what you are adoring, what you are hankering for, what is your goal. That what you are contemplating all the time, that state you will attain without fail. So he wanted to attain Pitrilok even before he met Purvachitti, and Purvachitti happened to be from Pitrilok. Plus he was thinking for her and hankering for her. So Lord ultimately satisfied his desire. He attained Pitrilok. It is not mentioned here whether he again got her association or not. It's not mentioned here. I assume at least he got to meet her. Don't know whether he could spend time with her or she was busy on another assignment. We don't know. That is the nature of material life. Anyway, the lesson from the Bhagavatam from this is that Maharaj Agnidhra actually had a wonderful opportunity, being the son of Maharaj Priyavrat, such a great devotee, makes spiritual advancement, but he kind of blew it, and he got distracted, just material pursuit. So it is sad. What happened thereafter for him is not mentioned in this chapter, but as the destination he achieved, just attained Pitrilok. So after Maharaj Agnidhra had departed, gone to Pitrilok, the 9 sons whom we just spoke about, the 9 sons of Agnidhra and Purvachitti, headed by Nabhi, they took over the rule of Jambudvip. Actually, Jambudvip, which was ruled over by Maharaj Agnidhra, was subdivided into 9 varshas. And each of the 9 sons took charge of one of the 9 varshas. Which means Kim Purusha, the son Kim Purusha, took charge of a varsha which became known by his name, Kim Purusha Varsha. There's a Hari Varsha, there's a Ilavarta Varsha, there's a Ramyaka Varsha, there is a Hiranmaya Varsha, there's a Kuru Varsha, Bhadrashva Varsha, and Ketumal Varsha, Nabhi Varsha. Like that. This chapter concludes by the mention that these 9 sons married the 9 daughters of Meru. Meru means Mount Meru. The names of the 9 daughters are mentioned: Meru Devi, Pratirupa, Ugradamstri, Lata, Ramya, Shama, Nari, Bhadra, and Devati. So the chapter ends with this particular description. And the next chapter begins with the story of the eldest of the 9 sons of Agnidhra, Nabi. Because that's how the descendants come to Nabhi. From Nabhi, it will come to Rishab. It will come to Bharat. Bharat is the ruler of Bharatvarsha, in which Bharat Khanda is situated. So we are narrowing down. So other descendants, they are going into other varshas. That's not our zone. It's in the universal geography, but our specific Bharatvarsha is coming under the descendants of Nabhi. Perhaps it was known as Nabhi Varsha at one time, but eventually it is through the descendants it became known as Bharatvarsha because of the extraordinary rule of Bharat Maharaj. So we are going to stop here. We will continue the description of King Nabhi and the appearance of Maharaj Rishabdev in the womb of Meru Devi, who is the wife of Nabhi, in the subsequent chapter. Thank you very much. Canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. I have 2 questions. One is this Deepas which you are, it is in the outer planetary systems apart from that, right? Jumbo Deepa, all those things.
They're all in Bhumandal.
Okay, but not in the earth, right?
Mhm.
And another question is this pastime of Sankirtana, it happened in earth, right? Or outer space?
It is not mentioned here where exactly it is in Jambudvip. Jambudvip, earth is a part of Jambudvip. Now this Mandara hill that is mentioned here, I'm not sure whether this is a place on earth or not. On earth as in Bharat Khanda. It's definitely in Jambudvip. But whether it is on earth, maybe it is, but it's not very clear to me.
The reason I asked is someone in the earth, can he have control over higher planetary systems?
They are not technically higher because they are still part of Bhumandal.
Okay.
This is see Bhumandal, and we will discuss all this when we go to the Sthanam discussion in great detail. Earth is a very ordinary part of Bhumandal.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Earth is like a Jhopadpatti of Bhumandal. Within Bhumandal, there are various very, very opulent places. So the various dvipas that we discussed, they are in Bhumandal, out of which Jambudvip is one. Within Jambudvip, there are 9 varshas. Within the nine varshas, one varsha is Bharat Varsha. That Bharat Varsha is again further divided into many sub varshas or sub varshas which are known as khandas, and we are in only one of the khanda, and that is Earth.
Good. This is the most curious thing I find in Bhagavatam, technical stuff. But it's good.
So we are actually a very, very tiny part of Bhumandal, the Earth planet. So that we will discuss in detail. There are various very interesting diagrams and models to explain how the Earth is situated with respect to the Bhumandal. But we have to wait for a few months before we get into that discussion.
Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So it seems like within the Bhumandal also and within Jambudvip also, there are various kinds of celestial living entities who we will consider as celestial as compared to us.
Oh.
And they're not from higher planets. But the opulence of some of these Bhumandal realms can be considered heavenly from our perspective. Okay. Yeah. What is the other question?
Yeah, you covered it, Prabhuji. The controlling part you said, right? Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Sridharji, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, after all the descendants of Uttanapada, then the Priyavata descendants started, right?
Yeah, because the line ended with the Prachetas, right? After
Yeah.
that, there was nobody from Uttanapad's line to continue. So Priyavrat was still around. So that's why they asked Priyavrat to continue. Because in those ages, they would live for that long, right? They were still around.
So he was still young and he started now.
It is not mentioned how old or young he was, but yeah, he was able to take over the kingdom, get married, have children, rule over for a long time, and hand over to his own children. So clearly that. So, and Swayambhu Manu is still around. He has not passed away, right? So that's why we are saying that these residents are not, these individuals are not ordinary earthlings like us. They are very powerful beings. That's why I said on Bhumandal, various very powerful beings also stay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
It's on.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Shalini ji, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, is this Mandara mountain same as the one used during Samudra Manthan? That Parvat.
No, I know what you're talking about. Samudra Manthan, Mandar, I'm not very sure. I'm not very sure. I need to check whether it's the same or not. But I'm just trying to recollect Samudra Manthan. Is Mandar or is it the Meru mountain? I thought it was the Meru. Mount Sumeru, which was used. But I need to check on top of my head. That's what I recollect, that it is Mount Sumeru. But I may be wrong. I need to check.
Okay.
But we'll be coming to that pastime also subsequently in the Bhagavatam.
Sure.
Now, there is something very interesting also, which we will discuss as we come into the Sthanam part. There's something very interesting. Maybe we'll discuss it when we actually get there. But there are certain geographical locations which are outside Earth, which are in the Bhumandal in various places, but Earth has a symbolic representation of that place on Earth also. For example, we have the Himalayas on Earth. But the Himalayas, which the scriptures refer to, where Vyasadeva stays, is not this Himalayas. It is known as the Uttara Himalaya, which is not on Bharat Khanda. So anyway, those points we'll discuss later. So even Hanuman stays in Kim Purusha Varsha, which is not on Bharat Khanda. not even on Bharatvarsha. So all that geography. So there is a Himalaya which is outside the earth. There is a Kailash in that Himalayas where Lord Shiva resides. This Kailash is said to be only a representation. That Kailash is actually in the upper Himalayas, which is not even on earth. It's on Bhumandal. So all those things we'll discuss when we get there. So that may be possible. Amit just commented that it is mentioned as the Mandara Hill, which was used for churning. But I do not know whether it's the same Mandara mountain. Maybe not. Yeah. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is that 7 islands which is described in 5.1 chapter, is this today's that 7 continents?
Sorry, what is it? 5.1?
7 islands.
Yes, the 7 Dvipas.
7 Dvipas, is that today's 7 continents?
No. The seven Dvipas are these 7 Dvipas are the 7 Dvipas of Bhumandal. All of Earth is a very small part of one Dvipa out of the 7 Dvipas. Jambu Dvipa is the smallest of the 7 Dvipas. In the smallest Dvipa, it's perhaps the smallest Varsha and the smallest Thanda, perhaps. So Earth is very small. So, no, it doesn't refer to the 7 continents.
So we have to make a chart to understand.
Yeah, we have a lot of diagrams to understand. So I will show those diagrams when we discuss. Because if I just speak, you cannot imagine. No, but it's very difficult to imagine. So I have to take you through diagrams. Let's see how to do it. I'll show you the structure, how it looks. What is the top view of the universe? What is the side view of the universe?
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes.
Thank you all very much. Yeah, Praveen. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Prabhuji, so you were just now commenting about Earth's, like being a choppadpatti of all these Bhumandal part, right? But even on that part, Lord Krishna himself appears, right? So there must be something special about it then.
Yes, the special part is that only, that it is not so opulent. The special part is wherever there is a lot of opulence, it becomes very difficult to practice spiritual life. So Earth is a place where there is happiness and distress in equal proportion. In all the heavenly realms, there is a disproportionate sense enjoyment and suffering is very little, comparatively. Whereas in hellish planets and other lower planets, there is a lot of suffering. So Earth is special because on Earth, because of this balance, it is much easier to practice spiritual life. I did not say Earth is not special. I'm just talking from an opulence perspective. It is like a jhoppadpatti. I didn't say Earth is not special.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, so from an external perspective, Earth is very as compared to what to speak of heavenly planets, as compared to even the other Dvipas of Jambu Dvipa, Earth is very pretty ordinary. So yeah, it is especially Bharatvarsha which is known as the Karma Bhumi. Even other parts of Bhumandal do not have that label. And that is why it is possible to like very rapid spiritual advancement. Because if we were all very, very comfortable and enjoying like what other planets allow facilities, then there is very little urgency to practice spiritual life very sincerely. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's also not that the Lord appears only on earth. It's not like that. The Lord appears across so many planets. Of course, Krishna appears on earth in his personal form, generally. So there are so many incarnations of the Lord who appear in so many places. Okay, anything else?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay then. Huh? Have a very good evening, and I'll see you on Wednesday. We'll continue our discussion on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sorry, on the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thank you. Tantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhu. Hare
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Prabhu, Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji.